California leads the nation with the largest economy of any state. In fact, if it were its own country, it would have the sixth largest economy in the world. Small business is a huge part of that economy. It makes up the overwhelming majority of businesses in the state. California small businesses are the drivers of economic growth, creating 2/3 of all new jobs and employing nearly half of all private sector employees. California is home to 4.1 million small businesses, representing 99.8% of all businesses in the state, employing 7.2 million workers. California has the largest population of any state. More than 1 in 10 Americans is a Californian. This means about 1 in 20 American workers is an employee of a California small business. The California Department of Transportation recognizes the importance of small business partnerships and creates hundreds of millions of dollars in contracting and procurement opportunities every fiscal year throughout the state. Making those opportunities available requires educational support that allows small business to understand the requirements necessary to become successful. Safety practices, labor compliance, bonding, estimating, networking with experienced firms, understanding available resources that support the creation of new revenue streams that help business grow and support the communities that they serve. This is the California Department of Transportation's Central Region 2021 Contractors Bootcamp. Let's get busy. Let's rebuild California.
Good morning. My name is Bob Adams. I'm the Small Business Liaison with Caltrans District 10. Happy to have you with us for the 2021 Caltrans Contractor Bootcamp for Central Region. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to our Director of Caltrans, Toks Omishakin. Director Toks was appointed the 33rd Director of the California Department of Transportation by Governor Gavin Newsom and sworn in October 2019. As Director, he manages a $15 billion budget and nearly 21,000 employees who oversee 50,000 lane miles of highways, maintain 13,000 bridges, provide permitting for more than 400 public use airports, fund 3 of Amtrak's busiest intercity rail services, and provide transit support to more than 200 local and regional transit agencies. Director Toks came to Caltrans following 8 years with the Tennessee Department of Transportation. There, he successfully established environmental, multimodal, and planning policies to make the Tennessee Department of Transportation one of the best DOTs in the country. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Director Toks Omishakin.
I want to touch on two or three quick things related to why we're gathered this morning. Number one is our commitment as a department to this issue. On the tails of what we just went through, all of us just went through in 2020, the economic and social impacts and climate impacts that we just experienced, I think it's imperative for us more than ever to try to pull ourselves up, to try to be of assistance, to try to be of support to people across the state in varying ways. You know, the business side of things is just one of them, but across the board, we know we play a significant role as one of the largest departments in California state government to play our part in creating what Governor Newsom likes to say is a California for all. If this is truly going to be a California for all, we need to be helping, we need to be doing our part to lift up communities across the board. And our commitment to this is true. It's sincere. It's real. And the reason why I can say that is, number one, when I got here, we pulled together a list of priorities, what we're going to be focused on, what are our top 5 priorities. And if you're not familiar with those, you should at least try to become familiar with what are Caltrans' top 5 priorities. But one of those priorities is partnerships and stakeholder engagement. What that means from my end is that business entities, small businesses, DVBEs, DBEs, that we want to grow our bond, our connection to those businesses to see how we can see how we can be, again, of more support to help us accomplish our mission and our vision. So it's again, very much tied into our priorities. And if you look at our recently released strategic plan, there are several elements related to our values that is very much connected to how we can engage small business better as well. So this is not just something that we just do occasionally. This is something that when you look at our priorities, when you look at our strategic plan, this is very much woven into it. And so how is that going to be accomplished? I'll say these two things, and I'll take any questions if possible. From this discussion, I think it was mentioned in the video already. One, what will be discussed here today, one of the things that will be discussed is there'll be an opportunity to learn about bonding and how the bonding capacity of your company or your organization, how that relates to the work that we do at Caltrans and what levels of bonding authority you need to be at. So there'll be a bonding workshop. Number two, an estimating workshop to understand the best practices for creating and working with prime contractors. So the estimating workshop is very key as well. Number three, an opportunity to meet the primes will be a big part of this workshop this morning. Something that's very important is how to connect to the larger companies that are getting a lot of the work through Caltrans, and how you can connect with them and increase your opportunities to partner and work with the larger primes that get a lot of work with Caltrans. And contracting compliance, finally, we want to provide tips and guidance on the importance of the contract requirements, including labor compliance and performance on time and within budget. So those are sort of the four big workshops or four areas that are going to be covered today. But at the end of the day, I think CQC is a term that David DeLuce, I think, probably has heard me say a few times that I want us to start using when we think about our relationship with small businesses and DBEs. CQC, how to certify companies, number one, how to make sure we companies are properly certified, how to grow the number of certifications, but also how to qualify. That's the key. How to get firms qualified to actually do the work, and that's part of these four elements that I laid out before. With the bonding workshop, estimating, meeting the primes, and contract compliance. That's where how you get a better understanding of how to qualify. And finally, the last C of that CQC, how to be competitive. How to be competitive in this market is one of the things that we're hoping to help small businesses with across the state that are interested in doing work with Caltrans. We have a bill that we're still working through. I guess we'll be working through in perpetuity with SB1 that has given Caltrans half of the $5.4 billion for transportation. So we've got money to do more work. Even with the COVID hits that we experienced, we still have an opportunity to do a lot of work across the state. So we want to make sure that we're CQCing for small businesses, DBEs, DVBEs, and truly giving companies a chance to do work with us. With that, I would love to take one or two quick questions and then run. I know we're right at that agenda point, but I'm really excited to see the turnout this morning from businesses and our own internal staff across the state. Any questions from me by chance?
What is Caltrans doing to assist DBEs with submitting requests to primes? And perhaps maybe that might be what are we doing to help DBEs with the prime relationship?
Well, I think that's a very good question, and that's one of the four things that we're talking about this morning, and that's why I didn't see the name of the person who asked that question, but the four things that are going to be covered this morning, again, bonding workshop, estimating workshop, meet the primes, and contract compliance. And I'm glad our team, Bob and the rest of the leaders working on this, I'm glad they put that one on there, meet the primes, because it's so important. because sometimes we're talking past each other in a night, if you will. We're trying to get to the same place. We're trying to help each other, but we're not spending enough time really connecting. And even though this is just only one opportunity, it's still an opportunity to hear directly from the primes what they're hoping for in connecting with small businesses and DBEs and DVBEs. So I think more of that needs to happen. That's a very good question. And I'm glad to see our team has put that as one of the 4 key components of the workshop this morning. That's a very good question. Was there one more that came in? And then I'll
one more question for you real quick. I noticed there is a minor B program. How do we get started with small projects?
Also, not a very good question. I hope our team can touch on that in a little bit more detail this morning. It's one of the areas that we need. I think we need to grow in. I'll confess and be honest. I've heard that a lot. Is that there are a lot of sort of minor B type work that small businesses feel like they're not getting a true opportunity to be a part of. And I'm sure I see David. I don't know if David can be unmuted. I know this is one of the areas that I've discussed with David DeLuce, our Civil Rights Office Director, about how we can grow minor B's involvement, opportunities for small businesses to get minor B work. That's a very good question.
First of all, thank you for the question. Second of all, the first thing is to complete your certification. If you're a firm that's not yet certified as a DBE with Caltrans, the first thing you need to do is to complete your certification. The second thing is there are opportunities to get on the radar of our contract managers in our district offices. You make sure that you send in your information about your firm and your firm's capacity to our district directors, and that gets you on the radar of the folks that are going to be making decisions about the minor B contracts and the opportunities that are available. And the other thing is you just got to make sure that you start accepting work and completing the projects. And once folks develop that relationship and they understand that you have the capacity to meet the needs and the challenges that the department has, you will float up to the top of the list. So I think the first thing, again, is registering. The second thing is reaching out to key contacts at our Caltrans district offices and letting them know, being very clear about what your capacities are, what your capabilities are, what types of projects are in your wheelhouse, and then just making sure that you develop those relationships, stay on top of any opportunities, particularly when bad weather comes. You know, that there's always opportunities to do emergency work, et cetera. So those are probably the principal strategies. I know we can talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. I know I have an opportunity to bring some remarks, so we can talk a little bit more about it tomorrow. But those are the principal ways that I would say how to get started. You got to let Caltrans know that you're certified and qualified and competitive, and so those are the ways to do it.
Appreciate the opportunity to talk to everybody this morning. Again, this is a really central part of the work that we want to do at Caltrans, is to grow our partnerships with small businesses. So look forward to that continued growth. Thanks again for the time this morning. And
Director Toks, I really want to thank you for your time. David, to you too. We'll be talking to you again tomorrow as well. We're looking forward to that. But Director Toks, I really want to say to anybody who's here today and attending this boot camp, the commitment that Director Toks Omishakin has made to the small businesses, DBEs, DVBEs, and throughout the state, and that's shining through in events like this, in our other partners in District 1, 2, 3, and throughout the state, other boot camps coming up. So we really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much. We have a great event coming your way, but next we need to visit with a guy that I talk with quite frequently, and that is Dennis T. Agar. He is the District 10 Director here in Stockton. In October 2020, Dennis T. Agar was appointed to the position of the Caltrans District Director in District 10. Based here in Stockton, Dennis assumed the responsibility to oversee over 3,500 highway lane miles in 8 counties, including the Valley area, San Joaquin, Stanislaus, and Merced, along with the mountain regions of Alpine, Amador, Calaveras, Tuolumne, and Mariposa counties. As the district director, Dennis oversees several programs, including planning, local assistance, environmental, administration, program project management, and asset management, maintenance, and traffic operations. Dennis is responsible for more than 700 permanent and temporary employees in District 10, including 1,400 highway centerline miles open to pedestrians and bicycles, over 850 bridges, 4 Sierra snow passes, 3 rest areas, 24 maintenance stations. He oversees an annual budget of approximately $182 million and over $3 billion worth of programs and highway construction projects. Dennis has over 30 years of diverse and valuable Caltrans leadership, managerial, supervisory, and technical expertise and experience from the district to headquarters as well. So with that, I'd like to introduce to you my district director, Dennis T. Agar. Good morning, Dennis.
Thank you, Bob. I also know Toks, Director Toks had to leave us here shortly. He's a very busy man, but I also want to thank him for his opening remarks and along with David DeLuz for helping address some of the questions. So we'll do that. Again, I want to thank Director Toks, and as Bob mentioned earlier, he has really been very supportive in the small business program in Caltrans. One of the things that he mentioned was the top priorities for Caltrans, and one of those is innovation. And he's really challenged the districts to look for that type of innovation to grow and certify small businesses across the state. So thank you, Director Toks, for, again, your comments and your time with all of us this morning. First, I want to take this opportunity to thank our small business liaison here, Bob Adams, of course, the team with Bill Lavelle, and the team that we've worked with and our counterparts in some of the districts. So that's District 4, District 5, and District 9. In Caltrans, their support in the planning efforts and the outreach, along with District 6, to get out to all our partners and the small businesses out there to participate today and the next day. So thank you, Bob, for making this come to reality. This is our second boot camp that we're hosting here in District 10. However, it's the Central Region, which would cover other districts, but it is our first virtual boot camp. So this is, we're hoping for great success and our outreach here even further in this 2-day event. I want to also, inform everybody to take advantage of the many resources that we have available here in Caltrans today and tomorrow. But also, as Bob alluded to, there'll be more Caltrans contractors boot camps that are going to be scheduled across the state. This is the second one we've had in Caltrans. We just recently held a virtual boot camp in the North regions, District 1, 2, and 3, that Bob mentioned as well. So please look out for all those great opportunities out there for Caltrans. I do want to encourage, like Director Toks was saying, that each and every one of these of you who have participated today for small businesses to get certified. We want to make sure you get certified, whether it's the small business certification, DVBE, DBE, especially for DBEs for federally funded projects, and that would be through the Office of Civil Rights under David DeLuz's leadership. Please participate today and the next day, and of course, future events that we're holding in Caltrans. If you have not already taken the time to spend in our Caltrans internet website called the Caltrans Contractors Corner and Cal eProcure, please go out there and take a look at those opportunities and information. There's even training online, which would be very valuable to all of you. So please take advantage of that. The question about how do we get involved with minor B contracts or any contracts for that matter in Caltrans, your best start really outside of getting certified and being qualified to our contracts, please reach out to our small business liaisons within each of your districts. We have a map up there. Our contacts are online. If it's in your county, please reach out to your small business liaison. They will be able to answer your questions and point you to the right direction. The other thing I wanted to mention and give everyone a heads up, please look out for what we call a 12-month look ahead. And that's located in our Caltrans Contractors Corner. And it'll give you an insight to all the upcoming construction projects at different locations across the state. And that's a great tool to use to see what's coming out there in your area and what you'd be interested in competing for work. For District 10, just District 10 for the next 12 months, we are planning to put out a bid for nearly $100 million worth of contracts for businesses that may be interested in competing for. So please take a look at that for District 10, 8 county boundaries. So there are many other ways that you could participate with Caltrans. And again, we're really looking for innovative and creative ways that we can reach out to you, address some of the obstacles that you are all faced with in getting certified. That's one of the primary reasons for the boot camp. And we really strongly encourage great participation here and the next couple of days. Thank you to all our partners, all our district partners who helped us out to get this 2-day event going. I want to thank our contractors and our speakers and our attendees who are joining us today and for tomorrow. And I want you to all know that you are all contributing to all the future successes that we will all have here in Caltrans and across California. And you're really helping us meet our mission for California in Caltrans, which is really to provide a brighter future for all through a world-class transportation network. That is part of our new Caltrans strategic plan that Director Toks mentioned. We take that to heart, and we really look forward to working with all of you and getting you all certified, getting you all qualified, and getting you to win and compete all of our contracts, whether it's state funded or federally funded across the state. So thank you, Bob, and I wish everyone a successful 2 days.
But thank you guys all very much for your time as we kick off this Contractors Bootcamp virtually, and hopefully we can continue with success in getting small business included in our contracting process and help build more jobs. I mean, that's what we're trying to do here, more employment opportunities and helping small business make money throughout the state. And that's what we're trying to do with our Contractors Bootcamp. Tracey Lawrence is going to be presenting our bonding workshop this morning. And Tracey Lawrence is the president of Heis Surety, a professional with 25 years of experience meeting the bonding needs of businesses that participate or want to participate in government contracting. She has been actively involved in all aspects of the surety business. She's held underwriting positions with appreciable underwriting authority with 2 of the 3 largest surety companies in America. She has worked on both the East and West Coasts, handled contract and commercial surety accounts, closed standard and non-standard surety deals, and she has held management positions both on the agency and carrier side of the business. Currently, she serves as the president of Heis Surety and Insurance Services in Riverside, California, a bond-only specialty agency. She loves what she does because it supports the growth of area businesses and changes the lives of business owners. In 2014, she formed Lawrence Consulting Solutions, a small business that provides DBE support services, creates bonding assistance, program solutions, and conducts surety bonding training for contract administrators, contractors, and the estimating staff of construction firms. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce to you for our bonding webinar this morning, Ms. Tracey Lawrence.
Yes. Hi, Bob. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I am so excited to be here. It's not often that a bond lady gets to talk about bonds for an hour. So I'm very excited. I'm so glad to see the attendees that are logged on. It is my hope for the day that I leave you with something that is tangible, an action item that you can put to work this week, this month, this year to improve your surety results. I promise this stuff will work. It's time to get busy so that we can rebuild. Title of my presentation, I'm ready to work. We're ready to work, but you gotta have bonding. So let's get started. We're gonna talk about unlocking a new revenue stream. Why does bonding matter for small business? I'm sure you're all already thinking, well, that's how I get the contract. Yeah, it is the key to the contract, but let me open that up for you just a little bit, because bonding can provide a whole lot more than just, I need it today for the contract today. Having a bond program is your key to the government contracting construction revenue stream. We got that. We know that. The more bonding you have, the larger contracts you can go after, right? Bonding positions small businesses to bid as primes. Now, Caltrans work is large, but they do have the minor B program. So if you do have bonding or you're beginning your bonding journey, minor B is going to be a good place to actually bid as a prime. You're going to need bonding for that, and we're going to talk about how you get bonding a little bit later in my presentation. A contractor or business owner who actually masters, that's a strong word I'm using right there, right? Who masters his or her surety program, you're going to be able to manage your business far more effectively than the traditional contractor. Now, I know you're thinking, all right, Miss Bond Lady, yeah, how is that so? It's so because there's a process to bonding. When you master the surety process, you make surety friendly business decisions. Not on the day that you need the bond, you make surety friendly decisions all year long because you know and understand the process. You're going to get this today. Bonding opens doors to new client opportunities. Someone asked about relationships with primes. Bonding helps with relationships to primes. It also reveals professional development possibilities. You all have great small businesses. You're all engaged in government contracting already. I get it. But as your bonding needs increase, you're going to realize, hey, I have an opportunity to make an adjustment. Are we working out a little bit, maybe? We are making an adjustment in how we do things or how we make decisions so that we can qualify for more bonding. A mastered surety profile does more than deliver a desirable lifestyle. I mean, a desirable lifestyle is good. We'll take that any day of the week. But to the comment of we want to create jobs, we want to create opportunities, we want to make things right. When you master your surety profile and you're growing 10 million, 20 million, 30 million in bonding capacity, your lifestyle is well taken care of. But now you actually have the ability to economically impact someone around you. You have more employees, you have more vendors, you have more trade contractors that you're working with. It's a very exciting thing. Now, I'm sure that somebody on this webinar today is going to pick something up and use it. 5 years from now, their whole world is going to be different. Now, when we run into each other somewhere in the marketplace, do come up and introduce yourself and say, hey, Bond Lady, that thing that you gave me to do, I did it and it worked. There is a major difference between bonding assistance and surety strategy. Just quick and dirty, bonding assistance gets you past what bond needs you have today. Surety strategy That's the long play. What do I need to do for the next 12 months to make sure that in 2022, I'm bonding 5 million? What do I need to do for the next 24 months? So 2 years from now, I'm bonding 10 million. So there is a place for both bonding assistance and surety strategy. Let's go. Bonding is its own world. I've been doing in the surety industry for over 2 decades, and my mom can't even explain what I do. I worked in 2 of the 3 largest bonding companies in the country, and in all honesty, bond people sit in like the little section of the entire floor, which is full of people that do auto and property and work comp, and nobody really knows what those bond people are doing over there. Nobody kind of gets it. So we're on this webinar together. I am going to talk to you about this process, okay? Because understanding the process so that you can master it is the key to having surety freedom. Okay, first things first. Bonds are required by law, right? So there's always someone that wants to try to talk their way out of a bond. But when it comes to public works, it's just the law. And the law exists to encourage fiscal responsibility. So we're taxpayers, right? We want those that spend our money to be fiscally responsible. Bonds make that happen. They guarantee it. The laws for that, the name is the Miller Act for federal and Little Miller Acts for every other type of related legislation, whether it be state, county, city, that's built on the same framework as the federal. My industry calls those the Little Miller Acts. Getting bonded, it is not like buying insurance. Okay, so insurance is, you think you can pick up the phone, fill out an application, get through it, and you get your insurance, and it's in place for 6 months or 12 months. Do you know that when you are truly in the flow of bonding, it's continual? It's all the time. Even when you're not talking to someone like me, even when you're not sending someone like me an email, the decisions you are making are strengthening your bonding, kind of flattening it out, or possibly making it tank. Nobody on this call though. Nobody on this webinar. Okay, the contractor and the project must qualify. It's 2 pieces, right? So yes, you go through the process. They say, congratulations, you're bonded. And you think that you can bid anything that you want. Not exactly. Bonding companies approve you based on what you tell them about you. If you ask for a project that is kind of like a mismatch, or a project that has what the surety industry considers extremely high risk, you'll have a yes on your business and a no on the project, when what we're after is a yes on your business and a yes on the project, right? It's the whole process similar to qualifying for a bank loan. You remember when you bought your house and they wanted W-2s and tax returns and income verification and all these types of things? Bonding is kind of like that, especially when you are doing it above the $500,000 mark. Okay, my goal for you is for all of you to start where you are, even if it's below $500,000, but to grow your surety so that you can go after bigger jobs. And that's going to be similar to the whole bank process. Being a great contractor is not enough. The number of times I've had someone tell me, Tracey, I've done this for 15 years. I can do this in my sleep. I understand. That's not how bonds work. Okay? It's understood that if you want to be in the government construction area, you better know how to do the work. Now that you know how to do the work, we want to know, can you run a business? The business part of construction is the hidden gem to good bonding results. You got to expect transparency. Sometimes you just don't want to share everything, right? I get it. I know. You're like, I can't believe she asked me for that. But you're going to have to be able and willing to provide business and personal information. We're talking bank statements. We're talking, you're going to look at business and personal credit. You name it. They want to know you. The bonding company wants to know you and your business and about your staff, about what you've done in the past. Indemnification is required. This bullet, I probably should have bolded it and make it, flashing, like to give you a warning. That comment I made earlier, bonding is not like insurance. Bonding, what makes bonding so different is the requirement to indemnify. Indemnification basically says, bonding company, will you support me as I pursue revenue for my business? Will you help me grow? I'm going to do my part to perform the work and pay the bills. If I don't perform the work and I don't pay the bills, I realize it's my obligation. So when you step in to make it right for the taxpayers, to make it right for Caltrans, I agree to indemnify you and pay you back, however long it takes. And the indemnification is corporate, personal, spousal, sometimes trust, sometimes third-party indemnity. So you do not want to get into the government construction contracting game without a full understanding of it's my responsibility. This is not insurance. Okay? Your surety agent over time, and you maybe not at first, but over time should become one of your trusted business advisors. We have good advice. We kind of been there, done that, and seen a lot of stuff. So you'll learn to listen, ask questions, have them do research for you. But bonds protect your clients and taxpayers. It's not like insurance, remember? It does not protect you. That is a major difference, okay? Because it does not protect you, it protects taxpayers and clients from you, okay? That's why taxpayers require it on public works projects. This process, two things have to happen. You have to qualify and the project has to qualify, right? Qualify how, you ask? That's a very good question. All bonding, no matter which bonding company you go to, a company that's been around 150 years to a bonding company that started, 5 years ago. The basic premise of bonding is contractors are evaluated on character, capacity, and capital. We call that the 3 C's of surety, okay? Character, capacity, and capital. Now, when we first started this webinar, or this part of the webinar, I mentioned to you that bonding is the key to the government construction revenue stream, right? I said that it can create economic impact. Your business can be an influencer in your area, right? And the more jobs you create, the more influence you have, right? And now I'm telling you how to increase your bonding. So all of those things, the revenue stream, the economic impact, the influence is available to you. We have a character, a capacity, and a capital. And in each one of those columns, I give you examples of what we're talking about. Reputation is inside character. What does the industry say about you? What do they say about how you interact with other contractors, how you interact with clients? Personal credit. What does your personal credit say about you? If the bonding company does a license check, what will they find there? everything in that character, in the character column, is something you touch every day, whether you need a bond or not. So if you're going to move in the direction of, I am going to start pursuing actively some Caltrans work, and I'm gonna build my bonding so that I really have more business capacity, more construction capacity that I can actually offer to the process, right? Because I know that's what I want to do, I am going to protect my brand. I'm going to manage character. I am going to encourage my employees. Hey, don't be out there acting all crazy. And don't be out there, talking to one another any kind of way, right? We're the kind of operation that stands for character. And then do it. Now I'm going to talk about capacity. What has your company done before? What's the company history? What types of projects have you done? What size were they? Where were they located? How long did it take? Technical skill. Who's on your team? What is your cup of tea? What's your sweet spot? Are you a concrete guru, which would be kind of cool, right? Or maybe you're paving, asphalt paving with striping. Maybe you're guardrails, right? What is it about what you do that's impressive? What kind of equipment do you have? What kind of equipment will you have 6 months from now? What kind of equipment will you have 12 months from now? Let's talk about personnel. We want to talk about in the field, in the back office, in the accounting department, in the compliance department. Are we leveling up? That's like one of my favorite phrases, right? Got to level up. Because it wherever you are today, it's just where we are today. But we got time. We're breathing. We're in today's boot camp. We're taking our jacket off, for God's sakes. We're ready to go, right? So let's be in it with the intent to level up. Everything in the capacity column, those are decisions that you are making on a pretty regular basis. Like, can I add one more project to my backlog? Do I need to look at a different accounting system? Is it time to hire? And at the moment that you're making those decisions, you're probably not thinking, this is going to help my bonding. But hang on, if you make a surety-friendly decision, it will, I promise. The issue of money is bonding companies want to be convinced that you have enough to manage the work that you have on hand, to financially make sure it goes forward without a hitch, that you can kind of wait until it's time to receive your payment. That particular category is called working capital. They want to know what your company's worth. So you've been around for 5 years, you've been around for 10 years, you've been around for 15 years. Have you built your company up, or have you continually taken all of the profits out? Option one, built my company up. Way easier bond experience. Taking all the profits out. You know what bond people think about that? Bond people think that you're not committed to your business. And then that influences them not to be committed to your bond program. Okay, so even if you've been taking all the money out before we had this intimate conversation today, when you make the decision to build up your retained earnings, you'll start to see a change in how your bonding works. Do you have a line of credit? Lines of credit say to a bonding company, especially when you don't need them, I am financially responsible. My business is well managed financially. But I did establish a line of credit just in case, wow, just in case, bonding companies absolutely love contractors that have a plan B.
If they work primarily for brokers, how can they show their capacity?
On most surety applications, it will say, tell us about your 3 to 5 largest projects. Okay, and they specifically say, give me the name of the project, a brief description of the scope, who you performed the project for, what was the contract value. They may ask if it was profitable for you, and they may ask for a name and phone number of a reference for that project. So on the application, that's one of the ways you show capacity. Another way that you can demonstrate capacity is resumes of key staff, including completed projects lists. Okay, so earlier I had mentioned about, regular everyday stuff. You need to make a hiring decision. Well, when you're hiring and you're looking at an applicant's resume and it's, it's impressive, go ahead and ask for a project list, because you just never know. They may have been actively engaged in projects very similar to the kinds of projects that you're going to have to ask the bonding company to support you on. And if you can prove to the bonding company that you and your team have been there before, that you have experience, resume, project lists, reference letters, that's how you document your capacity.
Will 2020 be taken into consideration when it comes to capital? She said, for example, their firm in 2019 grossed $265,000, but in 2020 they had grossed $26,000. But they also used up their savings to stay afloat. So while they're not in debt, late rent to building owner, but not in debt, okay. Will bonding companies take 2020 into consideration? Their net worth went down because they used up their savings.
Bonding companies are trying to figure this out right now. As COVID was playing out in 2020, accounts that were really strong in 2019 that I was trying to move to different bonding companies in 2020, the new bonding company was not quite sure and not ready to start a new relationship in the midst of the pandemic. My expectation is that, because I used to be an underwriter, right? I used to sit at my desk and I would expect my accounts and their agents to send me their updates. So I expect that there's some underwriters right now that have been checking in with their accounts along the way. How are you doing? What are you doing to stay afloat? Are you spending your savings? Did you qualify for PPP? What did you do with it? Because some construction companies did very well during COVID. They happen to be in areas of government construction that actually just ramped up. Others slowed down, or they were subcontractors or second tier or third tier, and they had to finance a lot as the process slowed down, because just even getting pay requests approved, everything slowed down. So bonding companies are going to be a little shy, because the underwriter is a real person, okay? It's a real lady or a real guy sitting at their desk. They were affected by COVID somehow, just like me, right? But their charge is to minimize their employer's risk. So if you are with a bonding company now and you've been with them successfully like 2 to 3 years, it may not be the right time to move, right? They know you, and knowing you is going to count for something, okay? But the fact that your financial condition has changed, you should expect their response or their ability to support you to change. You should also expect them to ask, how are you going to fix it? How are you going to go forward? What if the pandemic goes on another 12 months? What's the plan? And trust me, they haven't figured out the plan themselves, but they want to know that you thought about it, right? They want to know that, you're like, well, maybe I'll try this. So over the last, 8 or 9 months, where we saw people take their businesses and kind of redo their product or redo the distribution, bonding companies are going to want to know, so what's your plan? What are we going to do? We understand the process, right? We got to qualify. We understand that character, capacity, and capital are in play every day of our business lives. We are moving the chess pieces ourselves. No bonding company is controlling this outcome. We control character. We control capital. We control capacity. Time to apply. So let's get the paperwork going. You're going to have to do a contractor's questionnaire. And this is for the over the $500,000. Okay. You're going to have to do the contractor questionnaire. You're going to have to do CPA reviewed financial statements. CPA reviewed financial statements. Okay. That's not the financial statements that your internal accountant does out of your QuickBooks or your Timberline or Sage 300. CPA reviewed is a level of financial reporting. If you are not yet doing having your financial statements prepared by an independent CPA, that means not the CPA you use for your monthly reports, not the CPA that does your bank reconciliations. It's got to be the CPA that you only see once or twice a year, that person, okay? And then they're going to review the information. That's a compilation is entry level, review is in the middle, and audit is the highest level of scrutiny. If your year-end statement is more than six months old, you're going to have to submit an interim financial statement. The interim financial statement can come from an internal source. Until, of course, you get bigger, maybe like 20 million, 10, 15 million. Current personal financial statements on all owners. Remember my comment about transparency? Yep, you're going to have to do the current personal financial statements. And let me say this, it may be tempting to think that you can hide stuff. Bonding companies have tremendous resources when they are getting to know you and your business. The information on your current personal financial statement should be true and accurate. Because if it is not true and accurate, and that underwriter that just happens to be really good at her job does some checking and realizes that maybe it's not that true or it's not that accurate, guess what you just did? You just messed up your character sheet. We don't want that, right? So all of these, all of the paperwork, current and accurate. Bank line letter. You got the line of credit. Ask your bank to put a letter together for you. Your current insurance certificate. Yes, Ms. Bond Lady, I have great insurance coverages with great insurance carriers. Work in progress. I've got 4 projects in play. There's a form for it. It talks about the percentage of complete you are on each project. And if you are not yet using that work in progress schedule, it's such a cool tool. We could do a whole webinar just on that. It helps you manage your project outcomes, okay? And if you are not using it, your bonding companies think, they don't really know what's happening with their work because they're not really using this process. Work in process schedule is a whole accounting function that keeps up with every nickel and dime on a project. every labor cost on a project, every type, every screw on a project, right? That's why bonding companies want to see it, and that's why they want to know that you're using it and that you know how to use it. Resumes of owners and key staff, capability, brochures, they visit your website, they Google you, all those types of things, and of course, reference letters. Then you're ready to go. You see my little A+ over in the corner? That's for a really, really fancy submission. Our goal is to start wherever we are today. We pull together as much of this information as we can today. We get some it into the bonding company, we get some feedback, and we start where we are today. And then 6 months from now, we get closer to the A+ list. And then 12 months from now, we're knocking it out of the park. Time to complete the paperwork, right? So your agent or prospective agent sent you the contractor's questionnaire. You looked at it and you thought, 4 or 5 pages. Do I really want to do this? Let me remind you, bonding is the key to your new revenue stream. Think about it. Money is coming your way. When you're riding on the freeway and you're thinking, I'm going to work for Caltrans, you kind of look out your window and you're like, wow, traffic control is making money. You see the guardrails, you're like, guardrails are making money. You're looking at the stripes are making money. The attenuators are making money, right? So do you want to do the questionnaire? Of course you do. So you might as well set some time aside and get to it. You're going to complete your questionnaire, 4 or 5 pages long. You're going to gather the additional information in the list on the prior slide. You're going to pull it together. You're going to actually review the information. Go ahead, take a look at it, make sure it's accurate and thorough, and then add details for clarity's sake. Okay, so you pull the information together. It's so tempting to give that assignment to someone in your organization. I own my agency, and things that I really don't want to do, I assign them to someone else. But for this process, even if you get someone else to assist, you want to oversee, because you only get one opportunity to make your first impression, right? And the person on the other side at the desk, they may not know you yet. You want to give them a reason to want to know you. Every underwriter in every bonding company gets paid to say no. And we get paid pretty well to say no, right? But when we say yes, we want the account we say yes to be an account that the person that's sitting right across the way from us didn't get to write. Yeah, we want to write the good accounts, right? So when you're putting your package together, this is you proving I'm a good account. I am on my way to being great. Okay, so then you would submit your paperwork to your surety agent. You answer any questions that anyone may have, and then you wait for a response. Someone asked a question about Caltrans and what they do to help people get bonded. I don't have an answer for that, but I do want to share something in my industry. My industry has a credit-based surety program. The credit-based surety program works up to about $500,000. Okay, and if that's where you are today, the application is like 2 pages long. You have to have a license. I've been in business for 2 to 3 years. A resume usually helps, right? A license check and good credit. The owners have to have good credit. And with that, you're off to the races with your first $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 from a bonding perspective. You wanna start there, start using it, build your relationship with your bonding company, with the underwriter, a real person, right? And then build from there, doing some of those things that we talked about, upgrading to a CPA financial statement, building retained earnings.
Is bonding required for IT software and services, or is it just for construction related work?
Most of the time, it is just for construction related work. Occasionally you will see a municipality put out a RFP, and they will say that they want an IT person to be bonded. Usually that's for maybe putting in software, doing things like creating a wireless environment, things like that. But construction on public works is always, IT is not always.
For those who are in HR staffing or recruiting firm?
Okay, HR staffing or recruiting, usually the answer is no. You just don't see those types of contracts. When it comes, surety people just don't see those types of contracts. However, the nature of surety is to support fiscal responsibility by a municipality, a state, or federal government, right? So it's possible that someone will ask for one. Even if the county or city or school district that the staffing agency wants to work for asks for one, the same principles apply. And then I'll add this one thing: the sooner you type of RFP in the hands of a bond person, don't you work all on the RFP and come up with all of your bid and all this kind of stuff for days and days and days and days, and then send it to the bonding company, because the bonding company, they may have issues with that. You wanna find out right as early as possible. I see it in the RFP, the bond requirement. Will my bonding company support it? Okay, contractor must qualify, and so must the project.
Are they required for those who are engineers? No, but no hands-on construction involved.
Oh, architects and engineers usually get a pass.
Hmm?
They get a pass, right? Now, I will say this, architects and engineers that are out there working on design build projects as a part of a design build package, as a part of that team, that whoever is winning, the winning entity is going to have to bond, because the format of the contract vehicle does not override the fact that it contains construction. We are doing these things that you said, Miss Bond Lady. We are filling out our application. We're pulling the information together. We got a little letter that says, woo, we are now bonded. And we're excited. But what do we do? When you get bonded, it is time to go to work. Oh yes, time to go to work. You got to mobilize it for several reasons, okay? You want to put your bond program to work right away. Use what you have. If you start with 300,000, you want to bid some things: 250, 275, 205, 299, 311. You want to use what you have, and you want to make plans to adjust in your business so that you qualify for more. And when I say adjust in your business, what three things am I asking you to adjust? Did somebody say capital? Ah, yeah. Did somebody say character? Ah, yeah. And did somebody say capacity? Those are the three things that we're adjusting every day, so that the bonding we have today will not be the same bonding we'll have 6 months from now, right? As you are using that bonding, every time you send a bond request, the underwriter has to take out your file and spend some quality time with you. Sort of like, kind of. right? You want that person to have a record of success with you, right? You want to give them a reason to be walking around the office like, yeah, my account did that. Oh, yeah, we did that too. We're doing great things. If you have an opportunity to have a bond waived, which those opportunities do come up if you're working for general contractors, you got to ask yourself, is waiving a bond going to be good for my long-term, remember short-term and long-term surety plan? We can talk about that. Send me an email. We can go on and on about that. Waiving is not always the right answer. And then once you have your bonding, get the news out. Use it to market yourself. Get it out to GCs that you want to work with or that you are working with. Get it out to contracting officers, small business liaisons. Let them know what you're doing. Everyone has a vested interest in your success. GCs need small business to level up. Small business liaisons need small businesses to level up. The state, the federal government, school districts, we all need small businesses to level up. Increasing bond capacity. Okay, so you're doing it. You're going down the process. It's moving, and you have made peace with the idea that your everyday activities are positively or negatively or neutrally impacting your surety experience. You understand that you got this. Bonding company's not running the show. You might think they're running the show, but you're running the show. Okay? Use your line of credit wisely. That's your bank line of credit. Okay? Pursue and complete projects of increasing size and complexity. This is so important. Okay? Surety has a basic premise. They know you by your works, right? If you want to increase your capacity, you need to pursue larger projects, right? You need to successfully find one and complete it, right? You want to look at complexity as well, right? You have to build retained earnings. Okay, so line of credit goes to capital. Pursuing and completing projects of increasing size and complexity goes to capacity, right? Build retained earnings, capital. Improve financial reporting, capacity, okay? Because that goes to the quality of your accounting systems, okay? Hiring expertise, capacity. We're talking about project managers and superintendents that do the type of work that you want to pursue, that have project lists that prove that they've successfully completed those types of projects. We're talking about a CPA externally that really does construction. All CPAs do not do construction accounts. Bonding companies can tell the difference in the work product. Yep, we know when you chose a CPA that really does a lot of wholesale or a lot of retail or a lot of hotels and motels, because the financial statement's just not quite construction friendly, okay? And then all year long, like I've been saying, you want to make surety supportive business decisions. For those of you that have not been building retained earnings over time because you had a tax person tell you to take all the money out, one thing that you can consider is actually putting the money back into your company. Now that's going to have some tax implications, or you may have to do a loan to your company, and you may have to subordinate that debt, blah, blah, blah. But if you have the wherewithal to undo that, then that's one way to get an instant hit on bond capacity. Top 5 reasons bonding doesn't work, okay? Top 5 things that keep people from having bonding so that they can make money. First thing is a mindset against surety bonding. If you are on this webinar right now saying, I want to get a bond waived, or you are saying, I don't want to do bonded work, or I just don't like that bond lady. Yeah, you are in the wrong, you have the wrong mindset about what bonding is. It's just a tool. like any other tool that your construction company uses, right? Right? You invest in the good stuff so that you can get the job done faster, more efficiently, with less stress. When you invest in your bond program, in your decision making for your bond program, you get more surety support with less efficiently, with less stress, right? And then you can make more money. There is no shortcut to bonding. You may believe that your agent needs to be fired. I'm firing this agent, I'm going to a different agent. No, if your agent is the key to your success, you're not doing it right. That's just, one-on-one conversations between us, right? You control the surety outcome. They don't control the surety outcome, right? Your agent is supposed to support what it is you want to do. Allowing someone else to manage your surety profile. You may be hands-on in the accounting for your business, or hands-on on the project management for your business. But when it comes to bonding, you want to give it to the office manager. No. That's not, they didn't sign the indemnity agreement, okay? You signed the indemnity agreement. You, your spouse, your corporation, you signed it. Own this thing, own it. Ignoring the business of construction. Construction is, you can love construction, you can love watching it come out of the ground and thinking how marvelous it is. But if the back office is not handling business, you're going to have bond problems. It's one thing to glorify what you built, but you need to document it with good paperwork. Bonding companies love good paperwork. And financial reporting that does not support bonding. You may be building great things, but your financial reporting is done by, I'm going to pick on family members. My cousin, right? My cousin, went to school, got an accounting degree and came to help me out. Okay, so while they may actually figure out QuickBooks or figure out Sage 300, the bonding company will always see that work product, that financial report produced by your cousin, as a lower level of commitment to growing your business. Now, of course, if your cousin decides to, go work for a big CPA, learn construction, and come back, total different game. Okay. I can't say enough. Surety requires strategy. It requires it. Bonding assistance is good because it gets you past the pain of today. But if you are still using bonding assistance 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it's probably because you haven't changed. It's probably because you have not owned the power that you have to control your surety outcome. Those 3 C's, you got it. They're in your pocket. You need short-term plans regarding the 3 C's, and you need long-term plans regarding the 3 C's. You need to plan in all 3 areas, right? You can't just, I'm going to do a lot of revenue and I do a lot of profit. So you fix all of the capital situation, right? You say COVID was horrible to me, but 2021, I'm making all of this money. But guess what? Your character is, people are starting to send dirty notes about you. That's not going to help. That's not going to help, right? You need to have all 3 areas, okay? You need to forecast. Did you hear one of the opening speakers say, I think it was the District 10 director, he says, make sure you look for the look ahead. That is romantic talk. You know why? Because if you can see the look ahead, then you can forecast your surety needs, right? You can say, oh man, that's a nice looking job. It's in my backyard. I'm going to have to make sure that whatever prime is going after that, I stay alert. And then you you build up your surety so that you can have something of true value to bring to the GC. And then you make adjustments. You make adjustments all the time, right? You upgrade your financial reporting. You hire a new person, you get their resume, and you get their project list. You get nominated for small business person at your local chamber. That goes to who you are, right? You send a news release and you share it with your bond company. Make them have a reason to take your file out and pay you some attention. Yeah, and these are the things that you have to do strategically, on purpose, with the intent to get a result. My personal tip for bonding success, tip, TIP, if you manage timing, apply insight, and increase your preparedness, your bonding experience will be almost stress-free. And timing, what I'm really saying is, don't expect to fix your bond problem today. You want to go ahead and start to take steps to fix it so that when you need support at a higher level, you are already ready. You already know.
Says, what about letter of bond capacity for bid bonds? This is from Tom Nguyen, and he says, so I do not request a bid bond for every project that my company is bidding. This bid bond request can be time consuming.
Sometimes there is no bid bond required and you do just need a letter of bondability. But if you've never been approved for bonding, trying to get a letter of bondability is out of context. Letter of bondabilities are easy to get once you've been qualified for bonding. So you're going to have to go through this process if you haven't already. And then if you have, letter of bondability, it depends on if it has to be generic, which is just a general statement about your business, or if it has to be project specific. If it has to be project specific, you cannot expect the underwriter to agree to it without information on what the project is.
What type of bond is needed? And more so, what is the minimum amount for Caltrans job? And could you recommend a bonding agent that can give him a quote that knows exactly what the requirements are for Caltrans?
Hi, Ricardo. I'm a bonding agent,
Right.
But if I'm not your flavor, because I'm a weird one. If I'm not your flavor, you want to find someone in your area that actually is assisting other contractors. So ask another contractor that you trust where they're getting their bonds, and then call that person up. Okay, the bonds that are needed: performance bond guarantees that you're going to perform the job. Payment bond guarantees that you're going to pay the bills. Bid bond guarantees that you're going to enter into contract. Okay, the amount, 100% of the contract value. Okay, if you win a contract that's $333,000, the bond needed is going to be $333,000.
Is the application process to become bonded primarily only available to businesses that have worked on projects as a prime or a sub contractor?
Any construction company that wants to get bonded is going to have to fill out an application, even if you just started your business January 1st and you haven't done any work yet. Okay, so you may not have any projects to tell them about in your corporation or in your company, but there's something that you've done before you became an owner that you can tell them about, and you need to do that, right? Because remember, the whole application process is you are explaining how great you are. Own that, right? So just because the application didn't ask for a resume or it didn't ask for your past, employment, if that's where the magic is, send it. Connect the dots for the underwriter so she doesn't have to guess, or so he doesn't have to guess. Paint the picture of why that person should be willing to say yes to your bond request and put their job at risk for you. Do it. Be creative with the answer.
Miss Tracey, Miss Tracey Lawrence here, I really want to thank you for your expertise, your time today in presenting bonding.
If anyone is interested in a free surety evaluation tool, I've created one to kind of get you thinking after this is over. Send me an email. My email address is tracy@heissurety.com, and then I'll send you the tool. You don't use it once, you use it once a quarter for a year.
Got you. That is great information for anybody looking to get involved in public works projects. That is going to be a very helpful tool for you. No cost, no obligation. Yeah, she'll get that done for you. And now we're going to move on to another perspective, so to speak. And I want to introduce Sean Collins. Sean is the Credit and Contracts Manager for the Teichert Group of Companies. Teichert is a 133-year-old construction and materials supply company based in Sacramento, California. It holds California State Contractors license number 8, the oldest active license in California. Whew. Sean is the 6th-generation native Northern Californian. He is the past president of the Construction Financial Management Association, Sacramento chapter. He's been with Teichert for 27 years in various treasury, credit and risk management functions, and is currently responsible for corporate credit contracts, financial risk management, and bonding policy corporation-wide for Teichert. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Sean Collins. Sean, good morning.
Perfect. So good morning, everybody. What I like to talk about is bonds and why are they important to a general contractor. And so really, for us, it boils down to 3 major things. It's the lifeblood of contracting on the public works side of the world. It's a very important tool that we use for partner selection when it comes to subcontractors and other partners, and it's a key part of our arsenal for risk management. So as you'd heard Bob say, my company's 133 years old, and we've been in public works that entire time. And we have the oldest license in the state of California. And in order to get in the public works and stay in the public works world, you have to have bonding capacity. And what I loved about Tracy's presentation is it really demonstrates, the long-term commitment to the industry and the long-term commitment to proving who you are. So I'm going to talk a little bit about general contractors and how we use bonds for ourselves on the procurement side and working with our sureties, how we use them for partner selection, and how we use them for risk management. Little background on Teichert's scope of work. We build a lot of roads, highways, subdivisions, grading, paving, sewer, underground. We do solar, joint trench, gas work. We in 2020, we performed close to 500 large-scale projects, and last year alone, we issued more than 2,500 subcontracts. We're about 50-50 public-private on our volume, so a lot of that work was bonded capacity. So let's first talk about public works procurement. You heard Tracy talk about it, but bonds are required as a general contractor to do public works in the state of California. Those bonds are there to protect the taxpayers from price and cost overruns, failures, claims, etc. And so it is absolutely the lifeblood. So we talked a little bit about the different types of bonds. As a general contractor, we're required to post bid bonds on every project we bid as the prime. That is a protection mechanism to protect the taxpayers of any city, county, state agency, because there's a bid penalty to dissuade bidders from backing out of a project after they've bid. I'll talk a little bit later about the fact that we do ask for bid bonds on occasion from our subcontractors. And I'll talk about scenarios where that comes up. And so we go through and I'd heard one of the comments earlier that the bid bond process is time consuming. Sometimes you'll find that you've got time constraints to meet your public bid deadlines. So you have to be good at that process. You have to have a great partner in your broker to get those bonds issued. You have to thoroughly review all your documents, and you have to have a process down in order to do that. And so for large GCs, that's just their lifeblood to get bid bonds on public works projects. The second way in the public works side that we use bonding is to provide a performance bond to an agency when asked. That's yet another protection mechanism to ensure that the taxpayers are protected in cases where the contractor can't perform the work as promised. And so I'll talk a little bit later here about what a guarantee means, but in essence, by providing a performance bond, there is a third-party surety guaranteeing that you as a general contractor will complete your obligations as promised when you delivered that bid. So that's putting your reputation on the line, and it's somebody standing behind you to back up your reputation. Thirdly, payment bonds. Payment bonds are another mechanism that are required on public works projects, and it's to ensure that all the payments are made when a public entity pays a general contractor, that those payments are flowed down from a GC through the different multi-tiered subcontractors all the way down to suppliers and frankly, even labor provided on projects. That protects the public agencies against unpaid wage claims, suppliers, subcontractors that didn't pay each other. And all three of those major types of bonds are required on public works. And so having a relationship with a broker and a surety to be able to provide those are key to a general contractor's business. You know, Tracey talked about it, but I'll remind everybody again, you know, a bond, frankly, is a performance guarantee. And so having a third party bond means that a third party guarantees you. They guarantee that you will pay your bills, that you will perform accordingly, that you will, if you bid a project, you'll take the project or pay a penalty, right? And so what that means is that as a general contractor in the public works sector, our bonding relationship with our broker and the surety carrier are as strong and valuable as any relationship we have with our bank. We go over our WIP statements every single quarter. We're 133 years old, and we've done it every quarter of our existence. Why do you go over your financial statements, including your WIP statements, with your surety every quarter? It's to continue to build that relationship, and first and foremost, it's to prove that you did what you said you were going to do. Last quarter, when you forecast the profit on a job and you said that job was going to make 15%, and you come back this quarter, did the job finish at 15% or did it finish at 7%? It builds a track record to show that you can do what you say you're going to do, and that's how you build your relationship with your surety. Also should be aware that many savvy GCs will mitigate the risk required by posting all of these bonds to an agency by passing that requirement down to subcontractors. I saw a question in the chat earlier that someone had asked, do bonding requirements on public works continue down through the second and third and fourth tiers? And as a general rule of thumb, from the agency's perspective, the answer is no. The agency asked for bonds to guarantee obligations from a general contractor. If there's a flow down, that's usually at the request or the desire of the general contractor. So I'll talk about now what partner selection looks like and why sometimes those are flowed down. So in many cases, a general contractor will ask for people that are providing numbers directly to them to provide payment and performance bonds. Tracey talked about, you know, why would you ask to have a bond waived? Well, from a general contractor's perspective, that's a kind of a red flag for us. Is why would you ask for a bond to be waived? If you had a good surety relationship and you had bonding capacity, why would you ask for it? So then that tends to get us as general contractors asking some more questions and delving more into it. What are bonds provided by subcontractors to a general contractor? What are some of the upsides to that? For one, it serves almost as an instant pre-qualification. Right? It saves time from the general contractor because the surety has done all the underwriting. They've did what Tracey said. They've checked into character, capacity, capital, and said, yes, we will support the sub. And if the sub brings ourselves as a GC a bond, that's usually good enough, and we don't have to get into all of those nuances. So kind of ask yourself this question. Every time, if you're a subcontractor, every time you work for a general contractor, do you want to share all those same things with the general that you would share with a surety? Do you want to share your financial statements with the general and all your agings and your bank lines and your insurance and your WIP schedule and reference letters? If you've done that once with a surety and you can provide a bond, you can provide a bond to the general contractor. And typically you don't have to continue to do those things. And then as a GC, if we receive a bond, it's very indicative of the financial ability, right? It states you have a balance sheet, you can manage your WIP statements. So those are huge from a general contractor's perspective. Also, many general contractors have corporate risk management policies that require bonds and insurance in certain places. And so, as an example, many companies have rules that say if a labor subcontract is this many dollars or more, you either have to be fully financially pre-qualified or you have to provide bonds. So it's kind of which one would you rather do? I can tell you that from a general contractor's perspective, we are more likely to take on an unknown, previously unknown, or perceived risky sub who can bond over one who cannot. Why is that? Because there's a guarantee by a second party there, or a third party. There's a third party surety guarantee. Then it makes some of the risk mitigation a little easier, right? I'd mentioned earlier, we do ask, general contractors will on occasion ask for subcontractors to post bid bonds. Ourselves, we typically do that when first working with someone new or perceived risky sub. Sometimes if it's a captive sub, we'll ask for bid bonds. Bid bonds are no different from a general to an owner than they are from a sub to a general. It's just different obligees. If you're thinking about, oh, the bonds cost me money, I have to pay a premium every time I get a bond. Don't hesitate to ask the general contractor that may be asking you for a bond if they'll pay for the bond premium. Many general contractors will pay for a reasonable portion of the bond premium because they're the ones asking for the requirement. General contractors have and will award subcontracts to non-low subs with bonds, even if they weren't the low bidder. I love following Tracey because her and I are kind of the same mind where, sometimes it's a surety's job to say no unless you have all your ducks in a row. Sometimes it's a general contractor's obligation to say no as well. I can't use your number even though you're low because you don't have a bond. And that's that. Sometimes it's not all about price when it comes to that type of thing. So third is, from a general's perspective, bonds are used for risk management, right? General contractors in California take on a large majority of project risk in many facets. General risk management philosophy is to try to share that risk with everybody that's working on the project as best as possible. And so having performance bonds from subs, having that third-party guarantee of the ability to complete a job as it's bid is huge for a general, right? That says that there's a third party that's guaranteeing all the terms and conditions that a subcontractor has agreed to in one of our subcontracts, as well as incorporated by reference all the terms in the prime contract. It gives us protection for performance failures, whereas a general contractor, if we have to default a sub and go hire a replacement subcontractor, unfortunately, sometimes at a higher price, we've got a protection via the surety bond guarantee to help us out from that perspective. Another big one from the risk management perspective is general contractors in the state of California are liable for all payments downstream when it comes to payments being made. So when we get paid by a state agency and we pass the money to a subcontractor, if the subcontractor doesn't pass the money down to sub-tiers, suppliers, pay labor and wages, pay union trust benefits, the general contractor in California is inevitably responsible for that. So having payment bonds is a huge animal to mitigate against claims that might come uphill against the general contractor. And frankly, one of the biggest things that's happening in the industry in the last 10 or 15 years is increased labor compliance in the state of California. And so payment and performance bonds help us with unpaid wages, with union trust benefits that aren't paid, with suppliers' bills aren't paid, those types of things. So it's a huge risk management technique for us. Another animal that bonds help with is sometimes bonds can help you with cash flow, specifically when it comes to retention. So in California, kind of statewide, the standard retention held on public works jobs is about 5%. In most Caltrans jobs, the retention is 0 nowadays. Public contracting code does allow a general contractor to hold excess retention if a subcontractor says that they bond, but they cannot. So think about that from your cash flow perspective. And then sometimes you can leverage that going the other direction and say, well, you're not requiring a bond. If I provided one, would you be willing to reduce the retention from 5% to 2% or 1%? So you could pay a little bit of bond premium, but you could increase your cash flow on the project. So those are big things. And remember, if bonds aren't there, but the work continues, sometimes a general contractor could perceive the sub or the work to be more risky and could hold more retention to mitigate against those potential risks if the bonds aren't in place. So that's another another big thing from the overall risk management perspective. Another thing that on public works projects and basically the construction industry in general is there is a lot of time-consuming compliance-related paperwork in the construction industry, whether that's lien releases and union trust letters, labor affidavits, listing requirements, all the paperwork requirements. In our experience, general contractors are more likely to skip some of those time-consuming compliance paperwork issues if bonds are in place. And I use as an example some of the union trust verification letters or an affidavit swearing to swearing to the fact that all labor wages and benefits have been paid. If there's a bond as a backstop, some general contractors may be more willing to skip some of that time-consuming labor compliance paperwork. To conclude, I agree with everything Tracey talked about. Build a relationship with a broker and a surety. Develop your bonding capacity and continue. And I can vouch for a 133-year-old company that we maintain our bonding relationship every quarter and ensure that the lifeblood of our company, the ability to bid public works, whether it's prime tier or sub tier, continues, and that you've got a partner and a surety that will back you up and guarantee your obligations is absolutely huge. And like Tracey said, that's not something that happens overnight. Doesn't take 133 years, but it takes a fair amount of time to develop that. So, that's kind of my take on general contractors and our both use of bonds when it comes to the procurement side of things, the use of bonds on how we select partners and don't select partners in some cases, and how we use bonds as a risk management technique while we're building work. So with that, I'm open to any questions if anybody has any.
Do subcontractors need to be bonded if the project's prime does not require it?
Yeah, and again, that goes back to that's going to be general contractor specific based on their internal risk management practices. So I can tell you that if you work for one of Teichert's construction companies and you perform work over $100,000 in value per subcontract, regardless of whether it's public or private work and regardless of whether it's mandated by the owner, we as the general contractor will require those bonds from you as a risk mitigation technique. So to clarify, it's not a requirement of the owner. Typically, owners like agencies, like Caltrans, like cities and counties, they only need one bond. They need the bond from who they're contracted with, which is the general contractor. If bonds are required downstream to second and third tiers, that is usually a general contractor requirement, and that's going to be practices vary by general contractor.
Any advice, Sean, for DBEs attempting to work as a sub with Teichert?
So one of them that Tracey mentioned is absolutely build your bonding capacity and advertise that to general contractors. Let them know you're a bonded sub and the scope of work that you perform. And those two items right there, that's how you get on a list. And I believe everybody's aware of this, but when you're a general contractor bidding work to organizations like Caltrans, there are advertising requirements, and we have to do those by looking at the scopes of work that we're performing inside of our bid and then finding those industry codes and reaching out to folk. And so we always love having a short list of folks who have bonding capacity already, because that's absolutely huge for us to, like I said, because, you know, if you're a DBE and you perform scope A and you have bonding capacity, absolutely reach out to us. Let us know who you are, that you have bonding capacity, and what scopes of work, and then we'll put you on the bid solicitation list. And that's kind of goes for any general contractors. You'll typically then get put on a bid solicitation list, and every time we're bidding work that has scope A or scope B, you'll get a bid solicitation invitation. And then I go back to my other point in the presentation, which is, frankly, if your number's competitive with someone else and you're the number 2 bidder and you can bond, and they're a little lower than you are and they cannot bond, we are likely going to go with the bonded resource just for the risk mitigation factors. So keep that in mind.
It says if you want to provide SWPPP or the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plans services to a prime, do you still need to build a bonding capacity?
The simple answer to that is yes. You know, it kind of goes back to what Tracey was talking about. At some point, and I'll use Teichert as an example, we have thresholds where smaller dollar subcontracts may not require bonding from us directly, but that doesn't mean you wouldn't want to build capacity if you didn't have a desire at some point to do larger work. And so if we were working on a $400 million project and the SWIP services, you know, were $250,000 or $500,000 worth of SWIP services, yes, we are going to require bonds from that. So it's kind of like Tracey was saying, it's that gateway where maybe you build bonding capacity when you don't need it, right? You build capacity while you're performing the smaller dollar work, knowing that at some threshold you're going to be required to post bonds, and you're ready to go when that time comes.
What is the best way for those of us that are not contractors and or subcontractors to do business as a supplier of products or service to primes like yourself?
Oh, I wish I had an easy question, easy answer for that one. A lot of construction companies don't have centralized procurement departments, and we're one of those. So really it's building relationships with those decision makers that are at the local or regional level. A lot of those typically are chief or senior estimators. Getting to know them so that they reach out to you and ask for quotes for your product or service when a particular project comes up is usually one of the better ways. I mean, as you get larger and larger construction companies, sometimes they do have dedicated and centralized procurement services divisions, but typically in a hard bid, low dollar industry like construction, it's building the relationships with the actual buying decision makers, which are on the upfront side. It's going to be some sort of estimating staff that's taking numbers to put in proposals, and then after the work is done, some sort of a project manager or superintendent on a particular project, or regional project manager or regional superintendent, again, to make your product or service available. Wish there was an easier, better answer to that one, but that's kind of my take on it.
Sean, thank you very much. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll see you all back here at 11 o'clock for our Meet the Primes, and we'll see you then.